Throughout music history, countless black lesbian and queer artists poured their souls into their craft, shaping genres and influencing generations, yet received none of the protection or recognition they deserved. During the era of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, many of these artists faced severe stigma, silence, and societal neglect. Their stories weren't told, their contributions weren't honored, and their truths were buried. Today, we reclaim their voices, restore their place in history, and honor their courage, creativity, and humanity. 1. Sharon Redd. Sharon Redd was a fierce, radiant force in the disco and R&B world whose commanding voice made dance floors ignite across the globe. While she lived at a time when queer black artists rarely felt safe to be open about their identities, her music resonated deeply within LGBTQ+ communities. During the epidemic era, she faced the same silence and lack of recognition that swallowed many black performers. After her death, mainstream media gave little attention to her legacy, but her influence still burns bright in the DNA of dance music. 2. Chloe Zuberi. Chloe Zuberi emerged from New York's underground as a fearless black queer punk visionary. Her performances were raw, political, and unapologetically truthful, pushing boundaries in a world that tried to erase artists like her. As the epidemic devastated communities around her, Chloe refused to hide. She used her art to expose the inequities that made black queer people especially vulnerable to stigma and neglect. Though her career never reached mainstream fame, she remains a legend within activist circles for her uncompromising voice. 3. Sweet Tea. Sweet Tea was a lyrical firestorm in Atlanta's underground scene, a queer rapper who embraced vulnerability long before the industry allowed such honesty. She wrote about community loss, identity, and the emotional toll of seeing friends disappear during the crisis years. Her performances were cathartic rituals, blending rhythm with resistance. Though mainstream labels ignored her, Sweet Tea is remembered by those who heard her as a truth-teller who refused to let silence win. 4. Blackberry Blackberry was a soft-spoken but powerful presence in San Francisco's queer community. A singer, caretaker, and emotional anchor, he used music to bring healing to people grieving in real time. During an era when many lacked support systems, Blackberry turned his voice into compassion, singing in community centers, vigils, and makeshift gathering spaces. His passing received no public recognition, yet those he comforted still speak of him as a quiet hero who held shattered hearts together. 5. Lady Catheria. Lady Catheria was a captivating New York nightlife icon, a drag performer and community leader whose presence lit up every room she entered. Amid a climate of silence and fear, she courageously advocated for compassion and visibility, especially for trans women of color navigating the epidemic's social fallout. Her legacy lives on in the younger performers she inspired and the safe spaces she helped build, proving that activism can flourish in sequins and stilettos. 6. Vichy Lane. Vichy Lane, a classically trained singer and community organizer, dedicated her life to supporting marginalized people affected by stigma surrounding the epidemic. She founded grassroots initiatives, raised funds for care programs, and used her musical talent to bring people together. Though her work wasn't widely publicized, Vichy remains a beloved figure among community advocates, remembered for her generosity, empathy, and unshakable commitment to uplifting the unheard. 7. Lee Davids. Lee Davids was a South African dancer and educator whose energy transformed every space she entered. She brought conversations about stigma, illness, and discrimination into communities where such topics were seldom addressed. Lee believed in meeting people where they were, literally dancing into schools and public spaces to spark dialogue. Though her life ended too soon, her legacy continues through the young people she inspired to speak boldly and live truthfully. 8. Prudence Nobantu Prudence. Nobantu broke barriers as one of the first South African women to speak openly about the epidemic's social consequences. Her courage challenged deep cultural stigma and gave countless women permission to seek help and stand tall in their truth. Prudence organized support groups, spoke internationally, and fought tirelessly for dignity and justice. Her work remains foundational to HIV advocacy in Africa, proving that courage can reshape an entire nation's conversation. 9. Gracie Cartier. Gracie Cartier was a stunning transgender model, performer, and artistic powerhouse. Her photography, runway work, and essays challenged beauty standards while uplifting queer communities affected by stigma. As the epidemic continued to harm marginalized groups, Gracie used her platform to push for understanding, compassion, and equitable treatment. Although she never gained mainstream fame, her impact remains deeply felt within Black trans and queer artistic circles. 10. Afia Jefferson. Afia Jefferson blended poetry, body art, and performance into a soul-stirring artistic language. Through her work, she confronted the erasure of Black queer people affected by the epidemic, creating pieces that demanded empathy rather than pity. Afia believed in transforming personal struggle into collective healing. Her intimate shows and gallery pieces continue to influence young queer artists who use creativity as a tool for visibility. 11. Egypt Labazia. Egypt Labazia stood at the heart of ballroom culture, a community elder who mentored younger performers with warmth and fierce love. During years when misinformation and stigma overshadowed compassion, Egypt became an outspoken advocate for education and community safety. Her ballroom family often referred to her as the mother who taught us how to walk in our truth. Egypt's spirit lives on in every runway walk, every house chant, and every performer she empowered. 12. Chili Pepper. Chili Pepper was a Chicago nightlife staple whose unforgettable drag performances served as both entertainment and emotional refuge. She spoke openly about the importance of mental health, safety, and stigma-free conversations, particularly within Black LGBTQ+ communities disproportionately impacted by the epidemic. Her absence left a void in Chicago's queer spaces, but her influence remains woven into the city's vibrant drag culture. 13. Sir Lady Java. Sir Lady Java was a groundbreaking transgender performer and activist whose courage helped rewrite discriminatory laws in the 1960s Los Angeles. Though she lived during the height of the epidemic, she focused her platform on advocating for fair treatment, safer nightlife spaces, and the rights of gender-diverse performers. Java's work made entire generations of queer entertainers safer, proving that visibility is a radical form of resistance. 14. Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha P. Johnson was a foundational figure in LGBTQ+ liberation, co-creating support networks during the epidemic era that offered shelter, resources, and emotional support to those abandoned by society. Her death in 1992 became a symbol of the vulnerability of Black trans women, but her life remains a testament to unstoppable activism, joy, and love. Marsha's legacy continues to shape global conversations about dignity and justice. 15. Mikey Blanco. Mikey Blanco, a boundary-pushing queer rapper and performance artist, became a vital voice of visibility during the modern era. When they later spoke publicly about the stigma surrounding HIV within the industry, they shifted conversations toward openness and compassion. Mikey continues to advocate for mental health, truth-telling, and survival, inspiring a generation of queer Black youth to live boldly, and unapologetically. 16. Kia Labasia. Kia Labasia grew up navigating stigma while using photography and ballroom performance to challenge misconceptions about marginalized communities. Her art explored identity, survival, and self-acceptance. Through exhibitions and mentorships, Kia became an important voice for young queer creatives who often lacked representation and safe spaces. Her work continues to speak for those who feel unseen. 17. Tori Cooper. Tori Cooper is a nationally respected advocate and educator whose work centers on the health and rights of Black transgender communities. Throughout her career, she has emphasized the importance of accurate information, destigmatized health conversations, and accessible care. Her contributions have shaped national policies and empowered thousands of people seeking support. 18. Toshi Reagan. Toshi Reagan is a celebrated musician whose storytelling intersects activism, history, and empowerment. While deeply connected to communities impacted by the epidemic, Toshi's work focuses on resilience, collective care, and liberation. Her performances continue to uplift communities navigating stigma and silence. 19. Meshel Ndegeocello. Meshel Ndegeocello, a groundbreaking queer musician, has long honored those lost during the epidemic through her songwriting and collaborations. Her music reflects grief, memory, and emotional truth, giving voice to communities historically overlooked. Meshel's artistry remains a safe space for listeners seeking healing and connection. 20. Octavia Y. Lewis. Octavia Y. Lewis is a powerful educator, advocate, and speaker whose work centers Black trans women and youth. She has dedicated her life to fighting stigma, demanding compassionate health care, and nurturing community resilience. Octavia's voice continues to shape national conversations about dignity and justice. 21. Diz Diz, a queer Black vocalist and performer, used music to talk openly about mental health and stigma within communities affected by the epidemic. His courage helped reshape live performances into moments of connection and healing. Diz remains an inspiration to fans who find hope in honesty. 22. Jade Electra. Jade Electra, a drag performer and DJ, dedicated her artistry to creating supportive spaces for people affected by stigma. Her shows combined music, storytelling, and empowerment, demonstrating that nightlife could be a sanctuary rather than an escape. Her advocacy continues to influence queer nightlife culture. 23. Tiona Nekia McLaughlin. Tiona McLaughlin is an acclaimed artist whose films, installations, and archival work honor Black queer individuals whose stories were lost during the epidemic. Through meticulous research and emotional storytelling, she restores erased histories and confronts the silence that shaped an entire generation. Tiona ensures these lives are remembered not as statistics, but as human beings who lived, loved, and created. Conclusion: these 23 artists represent far more than music or performance. They represent resilience in the face of silence, dignity in the shadow of stigma, and truth in a world that often tried to erase them. Their stories remind us that history must be reclaimed with compassion, not speculation, and that honoring their legacies keeps them alive in the cultural memory they deserved all along.